Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the events that literally catapulted the conversation about UAPs, that's unidentified anomalous phenomena, out of the shadows and right into the Oval Office. This is the story of how we reached the 2026 tipping point. So let's set the scene. It's February 2026, and this presidential directive comes down. It promises to unlock government files on extraterrestrial life. And look, this wasn't just another memo, okay? This was a potential game changer for modern history. But a moment like this doesn't just happen out of the blue. It was the result of years and years of pressure building from every direction. You see, this directive landed right in the middle of a huge surge in official UAP reports. Plus, there was intense pressure coming from the public and, maybe surprisingly, a pretty unified Congress. The calls for transparency were just getting way too loud to ignore. This was the moment the dam finally started to break. And get this, the Pentagon's own UAP office, called ARAO, confirmed that its caseload had just exploded to over 2,000 cases. That number alone was a huge signal. This wasn't just a few stray sightings anymore. We were talking about a persistent, growing phenomenon that simply could not be brushed aside. Publicly, the Department of War, which, yes, had been recently rebranded, came out and said they'd play ball. The secretary, Pete Hegseth, promised a deliberative process. But to really get how we even arrived at that promise, we've got to rewind the clock just 1 year, back to what was happening in the halls of Congress. Right. So to understand the bombshell that dropped in 2026, you absolutely have to look at 2025. This was the year that Congress really started to force the issue and lay all the groundwork. And first things first, lawmakers had to get really clear on what they were even talking about. This official definition of UAPs was absolutely key. It broadened the whole scope beyond just flying saucers. Now it included objects under the water and, crucially, things that could move between the air, sea, and even space. This gave investigators a really clear and powerful mandate. And the political will behind this was, well, undeniable. You had a bipartisan group, Republicans and Democrats, introducing the UAP Transparency Act. And its mission was incredibly simple: force the government to declassify all of its records on the topic. Just drag decades of secrets right out into the daylight. But, laws on paper are one thing. It's the personal stories that really hit home. The political pressure got a massive boost from some truly shocking testimony. We're talking military and intelligence veterans who claimed they'd seen it all, and that they had paid a very steep price for it. Just listen to this. In sworn testimony, an Air Force veteran named Jeffrey Nucatelli talked about encounters with massive objects he could only describe as flying buildings near a sensitive military site. His words really captured how these events weren't just data points. They were life-altering, profound human experiences. And then came the really chilling part: the allegations of a cover-up. Another veteran and intelligence pro, Dylan Borland, came forward. And he didn't just talk about his own encounter. He detailed a decade-long campaign of official harassment that was designed to keep him quiet. And the retaliation he described was just chillingly specific. I mean, this wasn't just a slap on the wrist. Borland talked about a systematic effort to ruin his career and his credibility. Things like forged documents and even being blacklisted from the entire intelligence community. So while all of this is going down in Washington, a whole other front was opening up in the world of science and academia. The old rule book for how you even study the unknown, that was being completely torn up and rewritten. At this really influential conference, the Saul Symposium, you had respected figures like retired Army Colonel Carl Nell basically standing up and saying, hey, what we've been doing just isn't working anymore. He argued that it was time for a totally new game plan to break the stalemate. And that new tactic? It was put into action almost right away. The SETI committee, these are the folks searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, they completely overhauled their rules for first contact. They went from this decentralized, anyone can respond model to a super centralized one, where you would need United Nations approval before anyone could reply to a signal. I mean, that is a monumental shift in policy. But look, this whole story isn't just about strange lights in the sky or new laws. At its very heart, it's about something way more fundamental: our basic, shared understanding of what reality even is. Psychologists started raising a flag about something they call ontological shock. So what is that? It's that deep,
disorienting feeling that happens when your most basic beliefs about the world are suddenly completely shattered. It's a fundamental challenge to your sense of what's real.
So, how would people react? Well, it's complicated. Experts predicted a whole range of responses, everything from anxiety and major distrust of institutions to just pure awe and wonder. And, for a lot of people already buried under a 24/7 news cycle, the reaction might just be a shrug, simple apathy. But here's what's undeniable. All of these things, the new laws, the whistleblowers, the shift in science, they succeeded in pushing the UAP topic squarely inside what's called the Overton window. It went from being a fringe topic, a subject of ridicule, to a legitimate issue for serious, mainstream public debate. The events of 2025 and 2026 completely changed the game. It's really no longer a question of if disclosure is happening. The real question is, when those floodgates finally swing open, what is it going to mean for all of us? Is our reality ready?